On a big news day when several issues have been swirling, from the issue of demonetization with the RBI report out to the arrest of activists and then the Supreme Court's intervention, we're getting a big newsmaker, someone who's been both former Home Minister and Finance Minister of the country, Mr. P Chidambaram. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Chidambaram. Let's start with the issue that you seem to be speaking out most strongly about at the moment, the Reserve Bank of India report, which suggests that 99.15% or 99.3% of the demonetized currency, 500 and 1,000 rupees, have actually come back. You seem to suggest that's a sign that demonetization is a failure. The government will say, or is suggesting, that this means we finally got the black money into the system. How do you respond?
Because the government shifts its goalposts every month, every week, and sometimes every day. What did they tell the Supreme Court? What did they tell the nation? That out of the 15,42,000 crore, they will not get back 3 to 4 lakh crore. That will be invalidated, demonetized, and that will be a windfall for the RBI, which will pass it on to the government as a dividend, and the government will use the 3 to 4 lakh crore for developmental activities. Today, 13,000 crore, 13,000, 13,000 crore out of 15.42 lakh crore has been demonetized. Even that must be currency in Nepal and Bhutan, and currency which has either been lost or destroyed forever in some fire or flood. So nothing has not come back. And the government to suddenly claim by this is a significant success, demonetization was nothing but an official money laundering exercise. But where people were allowed, encouraged, given a window to convert their black money into white money.
But that's where the government is saying that now that they have, through big data, access perhaps to which are those 18 lakh odd suspicious bank accounts where black money was converted into white, they will use the income tax department and the government machinery to go after them. They say the tax notices have already been sent out. To that extent, they remain hopeful that they will identify black money holders through this exercise.
Who is to pronounce whether the money that was exchanged was black or white? Certainly not the minister, certainly not the secretary. It will go through a process of adjudication and then an appeal, a further appeal to the tribunal, a further appeals to High Court and Supreme Court. So don't count your chicken before they are hatched.
But that possibility does exist.
No one can pronounce all the money that was exchanged as white money.
The possibility does exist.
But we'll see the results 10 years later.
The income tax department, if it uses big data, can it not get some of that money back?
Possibility exists for saying the income tax department simply does not have the capacity to process 18 lakh notices. And it will take years for them to process that. So don't count your chicken before they are hatched. But this is what this government does all the time. It said we're going to get 3 to 4 lakh crore. It didn't get a pie. Now it says we're going to identify out of the 18 lakh accounts which are the black money accounts. I mean, there is in this country a system of law. I'm not saying all of that is white or all of that is black. But just as one can't pronounce all of that is white, one can't pronounce that all of that is black. But nevertheless, the fact remains, even if a portion of the black money has managed to slip through and become white, that was facilitated by this so-called exercise of demonetization. But you can't deny that.
But there is another flip side. The government now claims that they have actually used demonetization to ensure greater digitization, that there is now an incentive to digitize. To that extent, they believe that the number of digital transactions post November 2016 have increased, and therefore to that extent digitization has been a direct success and a fallout of demonetization.
I'm afraid you're wrong both on facts and on policy. First, the facts. Digitization had an upward trend for about 6 or 7 months after demonetization. But it's now come back to the old norm, which is why there is more currency in circulation today than there was before demonetization. Just look at the amount of currency in circulation. On policy, there was a way to encourage digitization without causing so much pain, so much disruption, and so much loss. Is it ethical to pursue a policy which cost over 100 lives? 15 crore daily wage earners were without a wage or a job or an income for 2 months. Hundreds of thousands of small units have been closed down. 50,000 in Tamil Nadu alone, according to the Tamil Nadu Minister of Industries. Lakhs and lakhs of jobs have been destroyed. 5 lakh jobs in Tamil Nadu alone. Is it ethical to pursue a policy of digitization or encouraging digitization by causing so much pain and so much hardship? The answer is no. You could have achieved digitization. Other countries have achieved digitization without going through this demonetization.
So you've got a situation where it seems that you believe there have been no benefits. I saw a Finance Ministry parliamentary panel which says there's been a 1.5% loss to GDP.
Absolutely none.
You're saying no, none whatsoever, because that parliamentary panel's report has now been rejected by the BJP MPs. Therefore,
the loss to the country.
Are you saying there should be a white paper? Is Mr. Chidambaram telling me there should be now a white paper? Because you have your point of view, Arun Jaitley and the government will give their point of view. Do you think this country needs to know beyond just this RBI report or that Finance Ministry panel report, the parliamentary panel report on finance, which has not been made public now? Do you believe the country deserves a white paper?
This government will not publish a white paper. So why ask for something which is not likely to happen? The Reserve Bank's admission or confession that 99.3% of the currency has come back is proof of the pudding. That this was only a money conversion exercise.
The swamp of black money is back. The swamp of black money is back. What you will call money laundering, the government will say the swamp of black money is back in the system. I come back to where I started.
Where is you? Which world are you living in? Which world are you living in? Are you saying there's no black money today? Are you saying that there are no transactions which escape the income tax net? What about the huge cachet of currency which is seized from time to time? In Tamil Nadu, we know from granite traders. In Delhi, a lawyer, in Bombay, in Punjab. What about the huge haul of currency? Is that white money or black money?
So you're saying whether it's counterfeit currency, whether it's acting on terror, whether it's black money, none of it is work. As far as you're concerned, whether it's curtailing counterfeit currency, whether it's taking on corruption, whether it is
tell me
black
where
money.
It has worked. Rajdeep, you tell me, have they not detected counterfeit currency since demonetization? Have there not been cases of bribes being given and bribes being taken since demonetization? The first detected bribe was, I think, 6 or 7 days later in the Kandla Port Trust, where crisp 2,000 rupee notes were found in the hands of 2 engineers of Kandla Port Trust. Was that bribe giving or bribe taking or not? It was in crisp 2,000 rupee notes. Have they not found loads of cash in the hands of various persons? That is black money. So which objective has been achieved? Not black money, not financing militancy, not detecting counterfeit notes. Which objective has been achieved? You tell me.
Okay. Let me therefore then, given that the strong views you've expressed and virtually suggested that demonetization has been a complete failure, ask you very clearly, what would the Congress have done? Because now that you claim it's been a failure, people will ask, the Congress was in power for years, you did nothing about black money. This is how Mr. Modi's narrative has been. At least I made an effort. What will you say then?
What do you mean? What do you mean we did What do you mean we did nothing about black money?
That's how he puts
all
it.
the cases detected, all the cases prosecuted of black money are cases where, well, he can put it whatever way. But are you saying prior to November 8, 2016, there was no case where the Income Tax Department detected black money? There was no case of seizure of currency. There was no prosecution for unaccounted money. There's no income tax proceeding for unaccounted money. There are dozens, hundreds of cases which were prosecuted, which were adjudicated. I mean, sometimes I get the impression that as far as the BJP present government is concerned, India became independent on 26th of May 2014, and India discovered its first economic policy on November 8, 2016.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the source of black money is often seen as election funding. No one has really acted.
Ask me,
no one has acted tough on election funding, which is why we are in the position that we are. We are back to square one. At the end of the day, there is nothing to be enthused about if black money is back.
Has the BJP acted tough? I'm not enthused about it. All I'm saying is demonetization as a policy instrument was a total failure.
Okay.
Now tell me, how are Prime Minister's rallies funded? How is the Rajasthan Yatra funded? Will they give an account of every hoarding, every flag post, every vehicle? Yes, we must attack the sources of funding. But don't close your eyes and say, after demonetization, all political funding of political activities are taking place by check paid money. Well, that's not true. You know that, I know that.
Right.
Recognizing the evil is one thing, attacking the evil is another thing, and not causing pain and suffering to cross people is an ethical line which you should not cross. Let me just remind you once again.
Yes.
15 crore people in this country are daily wage earners, and they went without a job, without an income for nearly 2 months, and dependent on those 15 crore daily workers are 45 crore people.
Let me ask you in conclusion, Mr. Chidambaram, because you are not just former finance minister, you are former home minister. You've seen what's happened with the 5 arrests of the activists. Now the Supreme Court has stepped in and said they must be kept under house arrest, that dissent is the soul of democracy. I want to understand from you, because you were seen also to take a tough line on Naxalism when you were home minister. Do you believe that the government deserves to at least be allowed to say the law must take its own course? That you cannot intervene at this stage and give people a clean chit?
Well, this has become a cliche. This has become such a cliche. Law must take its own course, as if the law only has to heed the police's views and police's wishes. The law is for citizens of the country. The police are supposed to enforce the law. We have no ambiguity about our position on Naxalism. Naxalites are a prohibited organization in India. So one must take strict action, strong action against Naxalites, and I'm happy that you acknowledge that when I was Home Minister, we took strong action against Naxalites. Politburo members, Central Committee members of the CPI Maoist were incarcerated, were arrested, were prosecuted. But to go after Varahara Rao, the most celebrated poet in Andhra for 50 years, a revolutionary by his own admission, holds extremely left views, so what?
But the likes of Vernon Gonzalez, Arun Ferreira were arrested when you were in power also. So the likes of Vernon Gonzalez and Arun Ferreira were arrested when you were in power as well.
Who was arrested?
Some of those, like Arun Ferreira and Vernon Gonzalez were arrested when you were in power.
I can't recall, well, wait a minute. I can't recall individual cases, individual dates. But if any, let me make my position clear. Anyone has a right to hold extreme right or extreme left or any view. That is a sense of freedom. But he or she does not have the right to indulge in violence or incite violence or aid and abet violence. If anyone had been arrested under the UPA when I was Home Minister or not, there were other home ministers, or under the NDA, where there's no evidence that he indulged in violence or incited violence or aided and abetted violence, that arrest was wrong. I have no hesitation in saying that.
Okay.
So let's see what evidence they produce before the court that the 5 arrested persons actually indulged in violence or incited violence.
So you're claiming that when the UPA was in power, all the arrests were made on that.
Or
are you saying when the UPA was in power, that was the touchstone? Indulge in violence or incitement of violence?
I cannot.
Because Arun
That was
Ferreira,
my touchstone. That was my touchstone.
Yes.
That was my. Let me answer.
Yes.
I don't recall the name.
Yes.
That was my touchstone. That was the law's touchstone. If anybody had been arrested without satisfying that condition, that arrest was wrong. Whether it happened under the UPA or whether it happened under the NDA makes no difference. That arrest was wrong.
Okay. You've been very clear as always, Mr. Chidambaram, both on the demonetization issue.
I want the present Home Minister.
Yes.
I want the present Rajdeep.
Yes.
Rajdeep,
Yes.
I'd like the present Home Minister to make the same statement which I have made, that if anybody is arrested when there's no evidence that he indulged in violence or incited violence or aided and abetted violence, that arrest is wrong. I want the present Home Minister to make that statement too.
Okay. Mr. P Chidambaram, thank you very much for joining me on the news today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.